The lecture hall buzzed with the chittering of 47 different species, all eager to absorb Professor Zeltor's expertise on galactic warfare. The Crix professor stood at the podium, his crystalline exoskeleton refracting the overhead lights into dancing prisms across the amphitheater walls. Today's lesson was special, a tactical breakdown of humanity's weaknesses. In the back row, Lieutenant Mara Quinn sat perfectly still, her expression neutral as stone. The human physiology, Zeltor began, his translator converting his harmonic clicks into standard galactic, is laughably vulnerable. Observe. A holographic human figure materialized above the stage, rotating slowly. Red markers began appearing across its body. 17 critical points, he continued, using a laser pointer. The throat, unprotected by exoskeleton or subdermal plating. A single strike here with moderate force causes immediate incapacitation. Murmurs of understanding rippled through the class. Several students took notes on their data tablets. Mara didn't move. She'd known this lecture was coming. When she'd been assigned to the Galactic Military Academy as Earth's first exchange instructor, Command had warned her, "Let them underestimate us. Learn what they think they know." The joints, Zeltor gestured to the knees, elbows, and ankles, contain no protective plating. A targeted strike will render a human immobile. Unlike the Theran warriors with their redundant locomotive systems, humans require all 4 limbs functional for combat effectiveness. A young Vespid in the third row raised a chitinous claw. "Professor, what about their reaction time?" "I've heard rumors." "Propaganda," Zeltor interrupted smoothly. "Human neural response time averages 250 milliseconds, adequate for a predator species on a low-threat world, but painfully slow by military standards. A Crix warrior responds in 140 milliseconds. A Theron in 98, Mara's lips twitched. She'd run the Academy obstacle course last week. Her time had shattered a 70-year record held by a Theran champion. The course monitors had been recalibrated 3 times, certain they'd malfunctioned. Their endurance is equally limited, the professor continued. Humans require sleep 8 hours per cycle. They suffer from temperature extremes. Below 10 degrees Celsius, their combat effectiveness drops by 40%. Above 35 degrees, they experience heat exhaustion. He paused for effect. They are essentially a Goldilocks species. Everything must be just right. Polite laughter scattered through the audience. Now for the killing stroke. Zeltor zoomed the hologram to focus on the human torso. Humans possess a single heart. One. Not the triple pump system of the Crix, not the distributed circulatory network of the Vespid. Damage this organ and the human has minutes at best. Furthermore, their ribs, he highlighted the skeletal structure, protect only the front. A strike from behind between the shoulder blades reaches vital organs with minimal resistance. A Theran student, all muscle and blue-gray hide, rumbled a question. "What of their combat doctrine, Professor?" "Their wars?" "Primitive," Zeltor said dismissively. "They still use kinetic weapons, bullets, explosives. Crude tools for a crude species. They lack the energy shields, plasma weapons, and nano-armor that define modern warfare. In simulation after simulation, human military units fall within the first engagement." He looked around the room. Any species in this room could defeat humanity in direct combat. Their only advantage was early development of faster-than-light travel. A lucky accident of physics, nothing more. "Are there any questions?" Zeltor asked. Silence filled the lecture hall. Then from the back row, Mara Quinn stood. The movement was fluid, economical. Every head turned. "I have one, Professor," she said quietly. Zeltor's compound eyes glittered. "Ah, Lieutenant Quinn, please enlighten us with the human perspective." Mara walked down the steps, her boots barely whispering against the floor. When she reached the stage, she turned to face the class. "Professor Zeltor has presented an excellent theoretical analysis. Very thorough. Very detailed," she paused. "Also almost completely wrong." The room erupted in surprised chatter. Zeltor's exoskeleton darkened, a Crix expression of displeasure. "Lieutenant, I assure you my data comes from simulations," Mara interrupted gently. "Physiological scans. Historical records from before first contact. All accurate data. Wrong conclusions." She gestured to the hologram. "May I?" Zeltor stepped aside, mandibles tight. Mara manipulated the controls and the human figure became her own image. "You mentioned 17 critical strike points. Accurate. What you didn't mention is that humans train for years to protect these points instinctively. We don't have exoskeletons, so we developed something better. Unpredictability. She moved suddenly, dropping into a combat stance. Half the class flinched. You calculated our reaction time at 250 milliseconds. That's our conscious reaction time. Under adrenaline, a chemical response to danger, our unconscious reactions clock at 80 milliseconds. Faster than your Crix warriors. Zeltor clicked skeptically. Impossible. No biological system. We call it the startle reflex, Mara continued. Before your conscious mind registers a threat, your body is already moving. It's why you can't sneak up on a human soldier. It's why in every simulation you run, you're not accounting for what we actually do in combat. She straightened. You mentioned our single heart as a weakness. It is. That's why human soldiers train to fight for up to 45 seconds after catastrophic heart damage, using only oxygenated blood already in the brain. We've had soldiers continue combat with punctured lungs, severed limbs, and abdominal wounds that would kill most species instantly. A Vespid student's wings buzzed nervously. But
why? How?
Because we evolved as endurance hunters on a death world, Mara said simply. We didn't have claws, venom, or armor. What we had was stubbornness. We chased our prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Sometimes that took hours, sometimes days. We learned that giving up meant death, so we stopped giving up. She turned to Zeltor. You said we need 8 hours of sleep. Optimal, yes. Required? No. Human soldiers have operated for 72 hours straight in combat conditions. We suffer, but we function. You said temperature extremes defeat us. Humans have fought wars in deserts exceeding 50 degrees Celsius and Arctic conditions below -40. We adapt. As for primitive weapons, Mara smiled, and it wasn't a friendly expression. Professor, do you know why we still use kinetic weapons? Zeltor remained silent. Because they work. Energy shields. We developed armor-piercing rounds that ignore them. Plasma weapons. We invented reactive armor. Nanotech? We created electromagnetic pulse weapons. For every advancement in warfare, humans don't abandon what works. We integrate it. We're not primitive. We're practical. She walked back toward her seat, then paused. One final correction, Professor. You said any species in this room could defeat humanity in direct combat. Her eyes swept the lecture hall. You're welcome to try. But remember, we didn't become an interstellar species by being easy to kill. We did it by being very, very hard to stop. The silence that followed was absolute. Zeltor's crystalline form had paled to almost translucency. Lieutenant, your demonstration was enlightening. Mara resumed her seat. Same time next week, Professor? As the class filed out, Zeltor approached her. That lesson was scheduled weeks ago. You knew. Why wait until now? Mara's expression softened slightly. Because the best way to teach isn't to tell someone they're wrong. It's to let them finish their argument, then show them what they missed. Humans call it rope. Give someone enough and they'll hang themselves with assumptions. The Crix professor clicked thoughtfully. Your species is more dangerous than I calculated. No, Mara corrected. We're exactly as dangerous as you should have calculated. If you'd remembered that surviving isn't the same as thriving, and humans have been doing both since before we had fire. She gathered her materials and headed for the door, leaving Professor Zeltor alone with a lecture hall full of now useless tactical data, and the uncomfortable realization that sometimes the most dangerous lessons are the ones you think you've already learned.